What's up, guys? Mike B here, and we're gonna look at the music studio in All Points Bulletin. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I know that this thing is pretty complicated to somebody who has never seen a music editor before in their life. You look at this, and you're like, okay, black and white keys. Okay, that's the piano. I get that. And that's pretty much the end of it right there. So I want you guys to have some sort of direction. I'm here to give you a few tips, show you guys the basics, so that when you guys get into the game, you can make your own themes and sell these things on the auction house and all that good stuff and make a little bit of money. As far as who I am, I'm half of the electronic music group Negative PH. Our song WK from the album Overmind is actually featured in All Points Bulletin, the game, as part of the soundtrack, and is going to be released on the All Points Bulletin official soundtrack that's going to be sold through Amazon.com, which is kind of cool. First, let's take a look at the layout. The top section is your individual tracks. Now, a track is an instrument lane. So if you have drums in one, it's going to occupy track, let's say 0, and then track 1 can be occupied by bass, track 2 by guitar, track 3 lead guitar, track 4 whatever, and so on and so forth. You can go through and you can solo, and what a soloing is listening to just one particular lane by itself, or you can mute different ones by checking the little speaker here. On the left-hand side, we have controls. So from top to bottom, we have the track name, which you can edit, change to whatever you want. You have the instrument that is for that track. So again, I would select, let's say, drums or something for track 0, and then I'll label it drums if I want. Then you have tempo, and this is the tempo of the entire song. So tempo is the beat. Like a dance beat would be like 140 BPMs. You hear that, ooh, 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 ooh. I'm sure that sounds really crappy, but you guys get the idea. The volume is the volume of that instrument. Now, you want to control this because you don't want every instrument to be maxed out, because then you lose all the dynamics, and then like your kick and your snare doesn't sound quite as punchy because it's buried in a mess of other crap that you have maxed out level-wise. You have your panning, which will allow you to move things back and forth on the stereo spectrum from left to right. Play with this a little bit. It can actually help fatten up certain sounds. Don't have to have everything right up the middle. Lastly, your stop and play button, and then your metronome. The metronome is pretty simple. It's basically just a little ticker that comes on when you hit play, and it just kind of ticks to the beat so you kind of know where you're at. The main area here, your pattern selector, your piano roll, and your modification tab is where you're going to be plugging in all of your notes and applying your effects. So let's jump into it. We're going to start with a simple 4 on the floor beat. It's your basic dance beat, 140 BPMs. This is what you do. First, we take on the metronome. Now you can see the bars that run vertically here. That's your beat. So we put a kick here, here, oops, here, here, and here. This is what it sounds like. See how our metronome lines up? Put a snare on every other beat. If you want to do a little variation at the end, plug an extra snare in at the end here. Simple stuff. That is your basic 4 on the floor beat. Now, we want to add some layers to this. We want to find like a hi-hat here, like an open hat. Put it in between every kick. And then what it's going to do is give it this bouncy dance feel. We're going to go ahead and add maybe a closed hat here to give it another underlying groove. Now that we have a good starting point, we want to go ahead and find an instrument to lay on top of that. Obviously, you don't want to have just a kick, hat, snare, kick, hat, snare. So let's find some more sounds to kind of layer on top of that. But I like this sound. Now you see I click and I drag and draw the note in. Do you see how it sounds? I don't really like it. I think it's a little too long. So I want to grab the end and shorten it up. Good. Now let's go and add a few. Now we can do the same thing every other beat here, and you may have to play it to listen. Perfect. Then we can keep on going with it and just add more notes, and so we have kind of a complete loop. Now before I add another layer, we're going to actually do some effects. So click on the modification tab, select low pass filter, and then you can kind of sit here and play with this a little bit, mess with the frequency and the res, and as you play it, you'll be able to hear what it sounds like. I'm also going to go ahead and add a delay because, well, delay kind of helps widen things up because you have a delay which bounces on the left and the right-hand side. Now let's solo the track and listen to this instrument by itself. Now let's add another synth. Go to the top, click track 2, and then we're going to select another instrument. We want a bass. This isn't quite bassy enough. We're going to drop down, maybe find something just has a real fatness to it. Okay, now this part's important. Go back to track 1 and look at what the first note hits. We see that it is on D, so the first note is on D. General rule, that is the key of the song, so you want your note to start on D on the other side. This is going to be a simple bass line. A little too high, we can click and drag it down to 1 octave lower. Yeah. Do this all the way across. And we are filling out our groove quite nicely. Let's add another layer. It's time for a lead. We have a bass, we have the drums, we have kind of a filler stab. Now we want to go ahead and add a lead. So again, remember in D, I'm going to paint some notes. I kind of already know what I'm doing, so we could audition, paint some notes, audition again, go through some trial and error. Let's see. So this is good, but it needs more. We want to add another layer underneath this of the same notes to kind of give more depth to this lead. The last layer that I'm drawing up here follows the actual lead line, but it's going to be like a pulse that's going to play over everything else. So, sounds a little messy. We have to move a couple things around to match this thing, and we have to move this thing out of the range of everything else. Perfect. Now what I just did was I took an instrument that was not occupying the bass range because, as you heard the first time, it gets just a little messy in the middle of the tune there. So we move all the notes up an octave, and then we choose a different instrument that's thinner, a little bit brighter sounding, and then we want to click over to modifications. We want to add a delay to this one to give it a little bit more depth. And guess what? That's pretty much it. We got our theme and we are done. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them to the pretty much to the best of my ability. Check out my band Negative PH at negativeph.com. Hit up my show. It's actually in this channel, BFF Report. It's also on zam.com and on iTunes. That's it, guys. I'll see you later.